Let's be real for a second. In Web3, you hear a lot about vibes, but verifiable proof should always trump hype. Today, we're looking at a project called SLUV and its whole claim of providing the actual receipts to back up the talk.
Okay, so let's just frame the problem here. So many projects in the crypto space are built on pure promises. A lot of good vibes, and a whole lot of, trust me, bro. But what happens when those vibes fade? You're left with nothing to check. This is exactly the issue we're diving into, this idea of moving from blind trust to proof you can actually verify.
And this gets us right to the project's core philosophy, which they describe as playfully savage. I kind of love that. This one quote, "Love the bag, not the heartbreak." It just sets the tone perfectly. It's all about putting your own security and self-worth first, instead of falling for a bunch of empty promises. And apparently, this idea is woven through their entire system. So this really lays it all out, side by side. On one hand, you've got the typical high-risk crypto playbook, right? Vague promises, anonymous teams, you know the deal. And on the other, you have the framework SLUV is putting forward, a system built on actual receipts, verifiable proof, and a team that's publicly identified or doxed. The difference is, well, it's meant to be night and day. So how does that philosophy actually translate into the code? Well, the answer is what they call their no-rug architecture. It's basically a whole set of technical safeguards that are designed to stop common scams and build a foundation you can actually check for yourself. The security here is really built on four main pillars. First up, locked liquidity. This is to stop the devs from just taking the money and running. Next, you've got time lock delays, which forces a waiting period for any big changes. Then, there are multi-sig controls, meaning multiple people have to sign off on transactions. And finally, independent audits, to get third-party experts to check the code for any holes. Let's double-click on that multi-sig part, because it is absolutely crucial. Just think of it like a digital bank vault that needs more than one key to open. For this project, at least 3 out of 5 publicly known key holders have to agree on any major transaction or upgrade. The whole point is to make sure no single person can just do whatever they want with the funds. But they don't stop there. These defenses are beefed up with even more controls. Contract ownership is either given up completely or renounced, or it's put behind a time lock to limit that power. Admin roles are scoped, which just means they have very specific limited permissions. And to top it off, a live bug bounty program actually pays the community to find and report any security weaknesses. All right, so we've talked about code security. Now let's talk about value. The project brings in another layer of trust based on what are called real-world assets, or RWAs. The whole idea is to connect the digital token to something tangible, something you can verify in the real world, and move beyond just market speculation. So what kind of assets are we talking about? Well, they're pointing to 3 main categories to start. First, fractionalized interests in intellectual property. Think things like music rights. Second, real estate in culturally important areas, which is held through proper legal structures. And third, actual physical bullion, like silver coins and gold backs. Now, here's a really critical point they make about notarization. They use it for key documents, but it's super important to understand what a notary actually does. Their job is to verify the process, confirming who signed what and when they signed it. A notary stamp is absolutely not an endorsement of the deal or evaluation of the asset, and they stress that using independent third-party notaries is key to keeping that process clean. This is how that whole idea of asset awareness gets real. For each of these asset types, IP, real estate, bullion, they point to specific proof documents, like contracts, deeds, and custody agreements. And how do you verify them? With an on-chain content hash. You can think of this as a unique digital fingerprint of the document that's stored forever on the blockchain, so anyone can check that it's the real deal and hasn't been tampered with. Okay, so we've looked at the architecture, we've looked at the assets, but remember, the main message here is about verification. So this next part is all about you. It's the exact checklist of receipts that you can go and check for yourself right now. And here they are. These are the public proofs you can actually go find. There's the transaction hash, showing the liquidity is locked, plus the date it unlocks. You can grab the security audit PDF and check its content hash. You can see the hash for the team's KYC certificate, and you can go through the RWA packets and their document hashes. It's all laid out there. So, how would you actually do this? Well, the process looks something like this. You'd go on-chain and match the liquidity lock transaction yourself. You could confirm the multi-sig signer addresses and the time lock delay. You could run a hash check on that audit PDF to make sure it's the original.
You could verify an RWA document's hash against its record on the blockchain. And finally, you could read the entire transaction history for governance.
This all brings us to the big takeaway, which really just circles right back to the central message we started with. It's a simple idea, but it's one that really challenges how things are usually done in this space. When you strip everything else away, the entire system is built to support this one mantra: don't trust, verify. It's really a call to action, pushing people to move from just passively believing what they're told to actively, independently checking the facts and the code for themselves. And to make all that verification possible, they point everyone to one single place. This transparency page is basically the hub for all the receipts we've been talking about: the contract addresses, the liquidity lock proofs, the audits, and all those RWA document hashes. And finally, as you'd expect, we have the official disclaimer. It makes it very clear that the token is for educational and entertainment utility. Holding it does not give you equity or a direct claim on those real-world assets. And it ends with that standard but totally essential reminder: none of this is financial advice. And that kind of leaves us with this final question to chew on. If you look beyond just this one project, this whole approach raises a much bigger question for the entire ecosystem. I mean, what if this level of verifiable transparency became the standard, the absolute baseline expectation for any new project? What would Web3 even look like then?